Welcome to Philanthropy SA. This is a podcast about and for the philanthropic community in San Antonio and South Texas. We introduce organizations and people who are making an impact in the community. Beneficent Financial is proud to sponsor this podcast, and it is our hope that you enjoy this conversation about the impact we can have. The goal is to edify and inspire. Now please join our host, Dan Rebman.
Hi, welcome to Philanthropy SA. I'm your host, Dan Rebman, and very pleased to be joined today by Armen Babajanian. He is the CEO of the World Affairs Council of San Antonio, and feel like you don't need an introduction because you seem to be everywhere. I mean, you know, I check out your feeds and that kind of stuff, and it's like you're at this event and that event and having all kinds of stuff. So you're a little bit everywhere, and we're glad you're here.
Well, you know, they say, first of all, thanks for having me, Dan.
Absolutely.
I really appreciate the platform you have here, and I've heard your past guests, and I'm like, why am I in part of this list? Along with Harvey Najum and Chris Martin and all these people. But thank you for having me. I appreciate that.
Yeah. Well, one of the reasons you're here is because of the great work of the World Affairs Council. The other is because in a couple of years, you're going to be the president of the Rotary Club. And I guess Paul set it up so that I have a standing deal where all presidents of the downtown Rotary Club have to be on the show. But we're glad you're here. And I always ask a little bit about guests, you know, they're a little bit about them first. And so my first question is, what brought you to San Antonio?
Yeah, you know, it's what did they say? We're not from here, but came here as fast as I could.
Exactly.
Yeah. So, you know, a lot of circumstances that led to something else that led to San Antonio. That's my father was a civilian in the Coast Guard and the Army, and he did pediatrics, and we moved around quite a bit, East Coast, West Coast, everything in between. And when I graduated from college, my family was in Houston at the time, and I moved to Houston, trying to figure life out. Unlike now, where I have life totally figured out.
Well, then you should be hosting your own podcast and talking about that, my friend.
And so I started working in a nonprofit back in 2001 with Big Brothers Big Sisters. Long story short, I ended up in the San Antonio area in 2003, continuing with Big Brothers Big Sisters. I continued that effort in San Antonio, had a little break to start the program in Warsaw, Poland, came back, worked for them again. And it took about 18 years for me to work 4 different markets for the organization. And I'm still involved with the organization. My little brother, who was 11 when I got paired with him, just turned 33 a few days ago.
Very good.
And so really believe in their mission, one-to-one mentoring. And but about 6 years ago, I received the job description for the World Affairs Council. I've always been intrigued by what's happening around the world. I've always been intrigued by the careers of a diplomat and just different cultures. And I jumped in, and here we are almost 6 years later.
There you go. And before we get into the World Affairs Council itself, what was it that drew you to, you know, the nonprofit world, Big Brothers Big Sisters and that type of thing?
It really wasn't planned, Dan. It was, you know, after college, I was looking at grad school. I was looking at potentially law school. I was looking at getting right into the workforce. And I started volunteering with CASA. And and actually, I think you had interviewed Angie not too long ago. Yeah. And so when I was volunteering with CASA, one of my supervisors said, "Aren't you looking for a job?" And I said, "Yeah, of course." And she said, "Well, my mother is a supervisor at Big Brothers Big Sisters in Houston." And I said, "I don't know what that is, but I need some cash." And I'd heard about the organization, and I knew whatever I wanted to do, that I wanted to do something that was impactful, something that involved youth, and that it was something that was greater than myself. And I jumped in and never looked back. And that's what got me into it. And some aspects of that are still the reasons why I'm still in it.
Sure. And so talk about the World Affairs Council and what it does, because when you think San Antonio, you don't think, we're obviously close to Mexico, so there's that component. But I think the mission and vision there goes a lot broader than that. And so talk about the World Affairs Council and what you all do.
So we are part of one of over 90 affiliates across the country. Pretty much any city in the U.S. has a World Affairs Council, and we all pretty much do the same thing. We set up events, panel discussions, lectures, fireside chats that directly or indirectly involve something that has happened or is happening around the world. And that could be something very topical, like what's happening in Israel or Ukraine, or it could be something more subject matter, like human trafficking, immigration, the USMCA, and everything in between. What our goal is to make sure when we put those events is that people who attend our events, which is the community, that they leave with more information and better knowledge about what's happening around the world. It's not a 30-second, or now it's like 15 seconds on your phone of what's happening around the world. You are engaged with a person who's speaking live in person, and you have the opportunity to interact and ask tough questions. When we had the program on immigration, we had people from all over the spectrum talking about it. Very respectful. That's the key thing, is we have a respectful discussion with each other. And the audience is very similar. They ask the tough questions, but they're done in a way that is appropriate. Maybe not the answer that they're looking for, but that's what the organization does, is we want people to be better equipped and not have misconceptions about other people's cultures, other people's policies around the world, other governmental policies. It's not that it's easy to do, but it's easier to do when it's in person. Absolutely.
And I know that your organization is committed to nonpartisanship.
That's right.
And that type of thing. And so that's got to be a tightrope that you have to walk from time to time. I'm sure there's people who want to hijack an event or a topic to go with a particular agenda and that type of thing. So.
Absolutely. You're absolutely right. It is a tightrope, and it's easy to keep my feelings out of it or my opinions. What it is difficult to do is to keep an ambassador or an elected official or a community leader to not be partisan. But having said that, we provide that forum so that if you are hearing something, then you're right there. You could ask the person either during the Q&A if there's time, or afterwards. Mm-hmm. And so that's our difference. We try to create panels that are left, right, everything in the middle. And you know what? We get complaints from both sides. So I feel like we're doing something right. We're always looking at our surveys. We're looking at feedback because it's not perfect. Mm-hmm. There are always things that happen, or people say things that are partisan.
Sure. And to your point, I think if you're getting heat from both sides, you're probably doing something right.
I think so.
So talk a little bit more about the World Affairs mm-hmm. Council from the perspective of this organization has these meetings and that kind of thing. How do you interact with the community, and how does the community get to interact with you?
The beautiful thing, so I shared with you some of the hot topics around the world. You have the tariffs, you have U.S., Mexico, Canada, you have Iceland, you have Greenland, and you have the wars. And what I think is one of the unique things that we do is we partner with the diasporian community here. So we have an event in September, every September. We have what's called a multicultural fair. And so these are San Antonians who are from all over the world who have a table set up with their respective countries, information. Mm-hmm. It could be artifacts, but it's also, like myself, as you could probably tell, I like to eat and try culinary items from around the world. So They also provide samples of their food from around the world or drinks. So if you come to the Armenia table, which is the one I would represent, you will have a sip of some Armenian brandy, some Armenian cheese, and also learn about our history and see some of the artifacts from our history. And so last year we did that with 37 countries. Our goal is to go to 50 this year. But that really engages the diasporan community so that, a lot of San Antonians don't know there are over 4,000 Koreans living in San Antonio, or the really robust Cameroonian community in San Antonio. Or if you look at any of the African countries, you have a lot of people from Nigeria here, and the Philippines, and Iran, and these segmented ethnic groups. You don't see them necessarily, or they don't necessarily come out and say where they're from. They're just intermingled, or they're also in certain areas of San Antonio. So they're eager to share their culture and their foods and their history. And so we believe that is grassroots diplomacy at its best.
Absolutely. No, well, first of all, I'm right there with you on the food thing. So you got to make sure that I know about the next time that event is happening. I also know that depending on, the country, like if you mentioned Africa, the Nigerians, I do know from firsthand experience that if you ask a Nigerian and a Ghanan to make jollof, they're going to get two very different things, and they both hate the other one.
That's right.
Jollof. So, I mean, you're going to start a fight there. I was at a conference in Africa a couple summers ago, and it was like, they were like not happy with each other's cooking at all. So it was very interesting.
And one thing I left out is also the richness of these cultures. We don't see this. I think people who have mentioned it to me when we do this event it's kind of what we did years ago with the Folklife Festival. I wasn't here for that, but from what they tell me, this is something close to it. We want to grow it each year. We want to include every country that is represented in San Antonio. Clearly, it's more than 37. And so it really allows us to empathize with people from other areas of the world, in addition to hearing about them in the news or on social media.
Absolutely.
Oh, and one thing I left out is the culture. We also have dancers and performers, and so in addition to the visiting their table and learning about their customs and their cultures, you also get to see some of their performers. The Japanese community has these young people who dance, and then they follow it up with some adult dancers. We have the Indian dancers, the Filipino dancers, and the Cameroonians, who actually have an event, a picnic coming up soon. They're so active in the community. So we want to bring that up and highlight it.
Absolutely. And in terms of, you mentioned having more countries involved, I mean, my hunch is in a community our size, there's 195 countries? How many countries are there?
Yeah, that's right around 195. Yeah.
Yeah, that's plus or minus on any given day. But my hunch is we have at least a couple representatives of each of those here in a community our size. So
we are sometimes challenged because you look at the Houston market or the Dallas market, you have a lot larger corporations which therein bring in people from all over the world, and so we don't have that opportunity. But I think the communities here in San Antonio are more hidden, so you kind of have to look for it. Mm-hmm. And so we're always actively looking to connect with those communities. And so if people are listening and they're like, "Oh, well, is Cuba represented or is Poland represented?" Let us know, and we'd love to get you on board so you'll have a table at the next event.
Very good. And so if somebody wants to reach out to the World Affairs Council and talk to you or your staff, or just find out when these events are going on and that type of thing, what's the best way for them to do that?
The best way is our website. You could Google World Affairs Council of San Antonio or go to wacofsa.org. And it'll take you right to our homepage. You could sign up to get a newsletter. We have membership opportunities. We have opportunities to make gifts and all that. Really, we just want people to connect with us and either learn something or share something that would be helpful.
Very good. Well, that sounds like a good place to take our break. We're going to go ahead and hear from our sponsor and be right back.
Many of you out there care deeply about wanting to make an impact on the world around you. You want to help take care of the people and organizations that are important to you. We understand that because we feel the same way. Beneficent Financial wants to help you. Our mission is to help people like you with professional, individualized financial advice achieve their objectives. Whether your financial legacy will stay within your family or benefit the community at large, we are able to help. Call Beneficent Financial today at 210-999-5511. In addition to traditional wealth management, we offer philanthropic services such as direct donations of required minimum distributions, donor-advised funds, and foundations. Call 210-999-5511 or go online to beneficentfinancial.net. Let us help you do well so you can do good. Securities offered through Momentum Independent Network, member SIPC/FINRA.
Thanks for joining us today on Philanthropy SA. I'm your host, Dan Redman, and very pleased to be joined by Armen Babajanian, the CEO of the World Affairs Council of San Antonio. And today we've been talking about all the really cool stuff that organization does. But I know with your activity in the community and that you kind of have some insights in some other areas of San Antonio as well. But before we get to that, what is something that you want to make sure folks know about the World Affairs Council that we haven't chatted about yet?
One thing that my board has told me I should brag about that I'll share is that this past year, of the 90-plus councils around the country, the World Affairs Council of San Antonio was selected as Council of the Year.
That is huge.
So we're very honored and humbled to receive that recognition. Our national board chair and our national CEO came to we had a gala not too long ago, and they came to support that event. It was a surprise to us. We are not one of the larger ones. We have 2 full-time, 2 part-time staff and some interns. So we were very pleasantly surprised and humbled to be recognized. That is something that is fairly new that was announced. And we also want to highlight some authors. So we have several book club programs. One thing that is coming up in May is, if you might remember the book called A Zookeeper's Wife. It was a book about a husband and wife who were directors of the Warsaw Zoo, and they were hiding Jews and allowing them to escape eventually, in Warsaw, Poland during World War II. And so we're bringing Diane Ackerman to San Antonio. It looks like we will have the event at the San Antonio Zoo, and we're partnering with the Holocaust Museum. And so we'll have a panel discussion about her book, but also about the upstanders who were part of the movement in order to not stay silent and help out those who are suffering and those who are being exterminated. So we have programs like that. So it's not always about a specific country, or it can also be about a book. It could be we've done programs on diplomacy, but also we've done a program on tequila tasting too. So it's from various parts of the world. So we want to be global in all aspects, not only the tragic stuff happening around the world.
Sure. No, there's a lot out there, and it's awesome that you have the ability to bring in those folks to San Antonio to do that. So when people think about World Affairs Council and they're thinking of San Antonio and obviously our proximity to Mexico, and that type of thing, but there's a lot of other international interaction that goes on with San Antonio. Educate our audience a little bit about, what makes San Antonio an international city beyond the proximity to Mexico. Not that I'm trying to I just think that's something that we all think of right off the top of our heads.
I think you have to look at the groups that are here that are coming here. You have a vast military veteran network here. A lot of people retire here from all over the world. We have 6 former ambassadors who live right here in San Antonio. You have one of them who has an amazing story, a very tragic story that started off fleeing the Khmer Rouge in Cambodia. Ambassador Sishan Siv, who had his whole family killed, fled on bicycle to Thailand, and within 8 years, because of luck, because of hope, and because of the American dream, he was sitting in the Oval Office advising the President of the United States. I think what is unique about San Antonio, it's a very relational city. I always tell my team, make sure you respond to emails because you're going to run into that person at some point. So there may not be the number of businesses in Houston or Dallas or other large cities, but when people come here, they connect with people. And I think that says a lot about a community like ours. And that's what I appreciate. When I moved to Poland in 2014, I looked at other cities. I looked at where my family lives in California. I looked at D.C. I looked at other places. And when I came to San Antonio, it just felt right. It felt comfortable. If I felt the connection here with people, that is, you can't really compare that with any other place that I have lived, and I've lived all over. So I think what makes us international are the people that are already here. What we're trying to do with several of our events is bring that out, but also those who are, here who are not from those ethnic areas to learn more about the Persian community here. They have a Persian festival every year to highlight their culture, and also the efforts of our city. You have greater SATX, you have places like Port San Antonio, and what's happening in the campus there, and what the greater SATX and economic development, trying to attract businesses, international businesses that are coming here. It's happening. They're not, rapidly coming over here, but it's forming those relationships, those connections, having a sister cities program, and having the opportunity to connect with people. We just had the Quebec City mayor here in San Antonio signing a friendship agreement with our mayor. Just wonderful people. A little concerned about what has transpired recently. A lot of uncertainty, but they at the end of the day, their philosophy is, how do we make our citizens better? How do we make them more engaged? How do we get them more involved? And how do we highlight our wins and try to make our communities a better place?
Absolutely. And I can attest to the fact that Quebec City is a beautiful place.
Oh, you've been there?
I have.
I need to go there.
Yeah, my mon femme parle français, which means my wife speaks French. I do not. So I am.
And they have a river walk, kind of, right? Am I right? They kind of have.
Well, they've got all kinds of. It's the most. If you don't want to go to Europe, it's the most European feeling city in North America for sure, especially in the old part, of town. So a lot of neat things to see in Quebec City. So I'll give Quebec City a shout out while we're here. In terms of you running a nonprofit, so you're organizing it and you're part of a national affiliate, and so that raises its whole thing. I've had guests on with dealing with national affiliates, and sometimes those relationships are great, and sometimes those relationships can be strained. Yours is obviously great if they just named you the affiliate of the year, so I know you're not going to say anything bad about them.
That's right.
But certainly in terms of just interacting in the community and that type of thing, what do you see as the big challenges and the things that not just you specifically, but your other organizations that you interact with, and we'll talk about collaboration in a minute, but you obviously are doing collaboration, as you mentioned, with the Holocaust Museum and those types of organizations. But what are the challenges that you're seeing now that we're decidedly post-COVID and trying to get, things back to normal and that type of thing? Where are your challenges and things that, maybe you've got a unique solution to?
Yeah, I don't know about the solution. I could present the problems. Although there are some solutions. The biggest thing, if you talk to any nonprofit leader, if you ask them what keeps them up is the revenue, which is obvious, right? How are you going to not to make money? You're not making money. You want to end up not losing money at the end of your fiscal year.
Sure.
But revenue for keeping the lights on, keeping staff, cultivating staff, providing opportunities for the staff to grow, interacting with the board. I think there are a lot of components that feed into the revenue. I think every nonprofit leader is going to say that. It comes down to that. I think if you take that away, in my opinion, it is telling your story. So that's why, anytime I'm asked to do a podcast or an interview, it's not we absolutely do it because it's our opportunity to tell the story. And of course that has to do with revenue sometimes because, you could put out ads on the radio or TV or various places, but, telling the story of your organization and the impact you're having is not an easy task, and to do it consistently.
Yeah, no, impact is, that's what most folks that I find when I ask that question, why are you doing what you're doing? And you mentioned the desire to have impact. It's that, you can think of it as a form of legacy. When we talk about legacy, a lot of times we're talking about, financial stuff and that kind of thing, but it's really what is it that outlives you? We mentioned Harvey earlier. There's like however many buildings named after Harvey. We're all going to know about Harvey for a long time. But beyond that, it's just that notion that, I had an opportunity to do something that went beyond my own four walls.
Yeah.
And
I think, if you don't share the impact that you're having, the average person who hears about your org may have heard about the World Affairs Council, or may have heard of CASA. But if you're not sharing that the dollars that are being invested in your organization lead to some sort of positive community impact, then people are not going to buy into it. You can't really rely on what happens on the government level. And that's hard because there's opportunity for partnerships with local, state, and federal, but that's very uncertain, especially recently. A lot of our colleagues who get federal funding, there's a lot of uncertainty associated with it. But, you have people like Harvey, you have people like Mr. Greehey and so many others who step up to the plate, who are very generous with their where their dollars go. So I think it's really when you're marketing your impact in your organization, it not only creates that immediate request for gifts and opportunities to partner, but it also allows people to hear those impact stories. And I think marketing to me is something that influences everything else in the organization, to the talent acquisition, to the board involved, to everything that encompasses in leading your nonprofit. So that's my opinion. And I think there's a light at the end of the tunnel, even with all the uncertainties. The thing is, you just have to be consistent. With the messaging and not give up. Because you're always going to have those hurdles, whether it's government, whether it's COVID, whether it's a turnover of your staff or your board. You're going to have those hurdles each time, just like any other business.
Yeah, there's no 2 days are the same, and you're going to get new challenges thrown at you all the time. So as we're getting ready to wrap up, what's something that I didn't ask you about that you wanted to be sure to talk about today? That could be something within the World Affairs Council, or it could be something about the state of philanthropy in general, or anything that's moving you that way.
I would say if someone's listening to this conversation and they want to be involved in some aspect, there's a place for everybody. You want to find what is your calling, whether it's to work or volunteer or to donate. There's a place for you. If you're kind of confused, you could look at the United Way. You could look at the Nonprofit Council. You could, just Google nonprofits or the area, dogs, seniors, youth, mentoring, and get involved. The important thing is, if you're on the sidelines, unhappy or concerned about what's happening in our community, there's a nonprofit there that is doing something about it and needs your help and guidance in whether it's your time, whether it's your treasure, or in whatever aspect that you could be helpful. Look it up and get involved. It's easy to stay on the sidelines and type on the keyboard. It's hard to go in the trenches, like we do at the Rotary Club, to serve the community. And so it doesn't have to be with the World Affairs Council, although that would be very nice. Get involved. Stop being on the sideline and complaining about things. Get up and find a place that fits what you're looking for. And let me tell you, after volunteering in so many different things, you get so much out of it when you serve the community and you see the impact you have on people.
Absolutely. Those are good words to end on. I think it's summarized by the phrase, be the change you want to see in the world.
That's right. That's right. And thank you for this platform. Like I said, I think it's important to have this, get the word out. I appreciate you having me, Dan.
Honor to have you. Appreciate you, Armen. Thanks for joining us. And so on behalf of Philanthropy SA, this is Dan Redman reminding you to do well so you can do good.
Thank you for joining us at Philanthropy SA. We hope you found something to inspire you during today's conversation. If you know organizations and people who are making an impact in the community, we would love to hear about it. Until next time, do well so you can do good.